Marion mom Missy Buesing describes the year 2020 as a really horrible time. Her daughter Aislinn has autism, and the COVID-19 pandemic made her anxiety around going to school worse.
And I don't know how much you know about autism, but kind of like routine can be good. So things weren't very routine, and actually, my daughter had a lot of issues with anxiety at about that time. So she started even when they had school in session or we were allowed to take the kids. She started having a lot of issues of getting to school, just being scared, and they call it school refusal. And actually, my husband and I were charged with truancy for not bringing her, even though this is a typical thing with children with autism. And mind you, she was 6 years old at the time. So, which, for me is just curious because I've got a son, and, he's 16 and he's always gone to public school and we've never had any issues. And it's interesting to me that I'm seeing like this whole other side of the public school system, that it's just, it's not for everyone.
The state of Iowa has a compulsory attendance law. That means it's the parent's responsibility to ensure their child between the ages of 5 to 16 attends school. A student who has 8 or more unexcused absences in a 45-day period is considered truant. The parent can face a misdemeanor charge for truancy, including 10 days in jail or a fine up to $100.
Her anxiety is just so awful. So, she was starting to vomit like once a week. It was really kind of scary. And after kind of going through all these medical things, like what is wrong, I think we just determined that it was just too anxiety provoking for her. And so we took her out of public school.
Unfortunately, online schooling during the pandemic did not calm Ashlynn's anxiety.
She could not stand all the pictures of the people on Zoom and would just scream and cry, and I'm like, we can't do this, like it's not working for us. And there wasn't a whole lot of understanding from the school. It was, again, this was also during the period we were being charged. It was COVID. So and I'm like, well, she's crying, like it's making her scream, it's scaring her, she's running away from us. Like so it was like, for me, it was the two ends of the spectrum. I literally had one kid that was like loving being at home because he's kind of a homebody anyway, and the other one that was just like, oh my gosh, get this computer away from me. And I know so many parents that have this school refusal along with the autism, and it's interesting that most of those kids are homeschooled because they don't want to get into trouble. I just had a conversation with a person I met through my own lived experience with truancy, who was like, oh my gosh, that's my biggest fear. That's why I, don't have my child in public school.
Missy began homeschooling Aislinn in December 2022. They take an unschooling approach to Ash's education. This means they're less focused on sitting down at a desk, reading from a book, or taking notes, and more focused on experiential learning.
I guess my example of that is my daughter is fascinated with space and the planets and the solar system, and she really likes art. And so we did like a little project with the planets, and she got to paint the balls, the foam balls, and then we named the planets, so then she could type the names or write the names. There were a lot of things, but it was all centered on something that she really wanted to do and was really interested in.
When Aislinn switched to homeschooling, she lost her individualized education plan, or IEP. This means she doesn't have access to special education services provided by the public school. Missy has been working with Ash's private occupational therapist on accommodations to make at home.
Because at school, we were just at a point where we were starting to put the pen down and utilize technology because it was really holding her back, because she has so much to say, but it takes her an hour to write a sentence. So
Wow.
we were just starting to make that switch, which I'd been kind of, prodding the school for years to do. And so I feel like at home, it's just a lot faster. We can just use the technology. We haven't really had to buy anything because it's on the phone.
The Buesings enrolled Aislinn in the Marion Homeschool Assistance Program. For Missy, that was the light at the end of the tunnel. So tell me about what resources you use from Marion Homeschool Assistance Program and then what you do on your own.
For us, because we were so battered and bruised by the time we got to Marion, I think that the best resource for me was just really hearing about kind of that unschooling approach and really just maybe staying away from a curriculum for a while. And they say that, again, this theory says that it takes about a month for every year that a child was in school to kind of like recover from school, which is, I don't know, kind of an interesting thing to me. I think just having professionals in the education system tell me that it's okay to just really run with your child.
Buesing said although it's just been a few months since they started homeschooling, she already feels closer to her daughter.